Welcome to Rooted and Rising Healing. I'm your host, Hallie Roderick, and this space is for women rebuilding after betrayal. Here we make sense of what happened, find truth again, and reconnect with who you really are beyond the pain. Whether you're staying, leaving, or still in the middle, your story matters. Together, we'll explore truth, clarity, and the quiet courage it takes to rise from the wreckage of what was into the wholeness of who you're becoming. You're safe to be here. In the messy middle, in the rebuilding, and in the rising. Let's begin. If you're a mom or a daughter and you've ever felt that quiet desire for deeper connection between you, but you don't want it to feel forced or uncomfortable, I want to invite you into something really special. It's called Becoming Together, a mother-daughter retreat in Sedona, Arizona, happening September 8th through the 12th, that I'm hosting alongside my own daughters. This experience is really close to our hearts because we understand that every mother-daughter relationship is unique and it's not always perfect. And this isn't about fixing anything. It's about creating a space to soften, to breathe, and to connect in your own way. Over a few beautiful days in Sedona, we'll guide you through experiences like breathwork, sound baths, mindful movement, even a vortex hike, and of course, nourishing meals. Each of us bringing our own gifts to support you, while also honoring your individual journey. There's no pressure to open up before you're ready, no expectation to be anything other than yourself, just a safe, supportive space to reconnect with yourself, with each other, and with something greater. If you feel even the smallest pull, you can find more information in the show notes, because you don't have to have a perfect relationship to begin becoming together. Welcome back to Rooted and Rising. I'm so glad that you're choosing to spend a little bit of your time with me this week. If you've been doing all the work and reading the books and journaling and praying and trying to decide to trust again and your body still won't settle, if you're exhausted but you can't rest, if you're holding everything together on the outside while bracing for the next blow on the inside, I want you to know that there's nothing wrong with you. What you're experiencing actually has a name, and it's something that your body is doing to protect you. Today, we're talking about survival mode after betrayal, and why you can't just think your way out of it, and what it actually takes to help your body believe it's safe again. So let's get into it. We know that betrayal trauma isn't a single event that the body just neatly files away. The discovery of betrayal in your relationship can launch the nervous system into this prolonged state of high alert, and it can last long after the initial crisis. Your brain is impacted, your amygdala is now on fire, and it is looking around wondering, am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? Your hippocampus is doing the review of wanting to make sense of your story, so it's replaying over and over and over again the new information and trying to figure out how it fits into the timeline of the reality that you knew. And so thinking about the physiological impacts on our body and our brain, I hope gives you some peace of mind and some comfort to know that there's nothing wrong with you. That if you're feeling stuck or exhausted or unable to settle, it isn't a failure that you're not healing fast enough. It's actually your nervous system doing exactly what it's built to do under threat. And so oftentimes on the outside, it can look like you have it all together because you might go into this over-functioning state where you're managing the house and you're showing up for everybody else and you're being the reliable one. But underneath all of that, the body can be deeply activated. And so you might even hear praise from people on the outside that go, wow, you're handling this so well. While on the inside, your body feels like it's in this constant threat mode. The functioning is real, but it masks how hard the body is actually working. And so this hypervigilance after betrayal makes sense. Your brain goes into this threat scanning mode. You might find yourself monitoring his mood, his every change in tone of voice, his phone, his behaviors, the time he gets home, maybe even outside of the relationship. You're looking and scanning the environment for threats of safety, always feeling like the next shoe is about to drop. And so if you are feeling like that is because there's something wrong with you, I want you to know this isn't paranoia and you're not being crazy and you're not overreacting. It's a nervous system trying to keep you from being blindsided again. It's protective, it's exhausting, and it's usually not sustainable long term. So even when you logically know that right now in this moment you're safe, the body can react as if danger is still present. Those racing thoughts early in the morning hours, exhaustion that won't convert to rest. How many of you clench your jaw or have muscle tension or have headaches that maybe you weren't noticing before? That was one thing I noticed I still have to work on, is clenching my jaw. And I'll wake up in the morning with a headache and go, why do I have a headache? And then I'm like, oh, it's because I was probably clenching my jaw. And when I check, sure enough, the muscles in my jaws are just constantly tight. And so we have to really pay attention to that. Sometimes you might notice that your mind gets really loud right before you're trying to wind down at night. Or you might wake up in the early morning hours or the middle of the night with a racing mind and you can't get back to sleep. And you might have this wired but exhausted feeling. And if so, you're not alone. It's a really common experience when the nervous system is stuck in this heightened state. Some researchers have described a stress response in which women move towards more of a caretaking and connection rather than pure fight or flight. And so you might have heard this as tend and befriend or fawning. And after betrayal, this can look like pouring yourself into caring for everybody else. A lot of times, even that includes your partner who hurt you while abandoning your own pain. This is the fawning response. Because in that moment, even though it's not actually true, it feels like if we take care of everyone else or we do all the nice things, then we'll be safe and we can, in a sense, control other people and we won't get hurt again. So if you've experienced that, I just send all the compassion in the world for you. And this is why we need to view self-care as essential and not as indulgent. I know I talked about this a couple of episodes ago, but overtending to everybody else can be a survival response, and it can quickly and quietly cost you your own healing. So if you are recognizing yourself in any of this, I would just invite you to take a step back and go, okay, am I doing that? Am I in that overfunctioning? And do I need to take a step back and pour into me for a while? It's not selfish. It's actually essential. There's also this part that we need to not ignore, and that's the physical toll of trauma on the body. When the body stays in a prolonged stress state, it keeps pumping out cortisol. And over time, we know that chronically elevated stress hormones can affect the immune system and then the body's ability to regulate inflammation. And researchers have linked long-term chronic stress to a higher risk of other physical health issues. So I'm not going to tell you directly that it causes any specific condition, because really it's more complicated than that. And this podcast can't really speak to all of that, even though I have had a nurse practitioner on here a while ago where we spoke to some of that from a medical perspective. But the broad point holds true in that living in survival mode for years takes a real physical toll. And if you're noticing physical symptoms, that might be a really important conversation for you to have with your doctor. And why can't we just think our way out of this? Would be so nice if we could just logically understand what's happening and then we could flip a switch and do something different. But we can't simply reason ourselves into feeling safe. Knowing intellectually that you're okay doesn't automatically calm a dysregulated nervous system. And that's assuming that you are actually in a safe environment. If you're in an environment where you're getting re-traumatized over and over again, you're trying to regulate a nervous system that's not in a safe environment. And then it's going to be really difficult to feel that safety and that calm in your body. And sometimes this is where we can see some spiritual bypassing that can sometimes sneak in, like just have faith, or if you just trusted again, then maybe you wouldn't be in this state. Or if you would just forgive, then we could move on through this. And that's actually not how that works. Trust and forgiveness are for a whole nother episode. But when we go to those, we're skipping the impact on the body entirely. And real healing includes the body, not just the mind or the will. One of the things that I hear a lot of women describe is this feeling of being numb, even when life around you might look actually really good. You can even have a relationship that might be healing, or you might have chosen to walk away and you're moving into the next phase of your life, and it's a good thing. You might have people around you who love you. You might have genuinely good things happening in your life and still feel kind of flat or far away from that feeling of joy. And that doesn't mean that you're ungrateful or that something's wrong with you. Chronic stress and trauma can really, in a sense, blunt our capacity to feel pressure and joy for a time. And if you can relate to that, I want you to just consider if that numbness is deep and persistent, it's probably worth talking to a professional about, because that can also be part of depression. You don't have to sort all of that out alone. So what can we do if you find yourself in this? I'm not diagnosing and I'm not telling you what to do, but as a coach, I like to give you actionable things that you can attempt and start to try and do. And I love these because a lot of them you don't have to pay a professional for. And the overarching theme of this is that the nervous system shifts through felt experiences of safety, not just insight or understanding, but consistency over intensity. So let me say that again. It shifts through felt experiences of safety with consistency over time. Felt experiences of safety with consistency over time. Not just one intense hour where you felt safe, but small, repeatable safety signals. So that means exhaling longer than the inhale. I can't tell you how many times when I'm with a client in person, or we're at one of our in-person events, or I'm doing one of my Reiki sessions with a client, and they're literally holding their breath, or I can see it through the screen when I'm talking to somebody. Are you breathing? And we literally hold our breath more than we think we do. So check yourself. Are you bracing by holding your breath? If so, take a big exhale or a big inhale and let your exhale be longer than the inhale. Inhaling through your nose is sending a calming signal to your body. Put your feet on the floor, maybe a hand on your chest. Your skin-to-skin contact with yourself can release some oxytocin, can help you gently shift into a more regulated and grounded state. Some gentle movement to discharge the activation. So if we sit there almost like in a frozen state and where you find yourself ruminating and the pain and the intensity is growing and growing, can you find it in yourself to get up and just go for a walk or start stretching or even just shaking out your hands? Incorporate some gentle movement through your body when you notice that everything is clenching. Even when I was talking about the clenching jaw, can you gently massage your jaw muscles and move your jaw around and put some gentle movement in there? Can you find some safe people to be around whose maybe you can borrow their nervous system, you can borrow their calm for a little while? Betrayal can be so isolating, and that safe connection matters so much. And I'll just throw in here that come to one of the in-person events that I'm part of. That is the biggest takeaway I hear from women is that, oh my gosh, I didn't know what safety felt like in my own body. And they get that safe experience with consistency over a few days' time. And then they go home and they're more familiar with it, and then they can move into it more often. Also, just stating what you're experiencing without any judgment. Okay, I'm noticing my body is in survival mode right now. Instead of that self-criticism or shame, like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Why am I in this state again? Just acknowledge it. My body's in survival mode right now. That's a good time to take the breath. Implement the gentle movement. Give yourself permission to rest. And recognize that the inability to rest is a symptom. It's not laziness. I was talking about this morning with my husband because we were both raised where being busy was important and resting wasn't really valued. And so our parents would say, time to get up, let's get moving, and watching TV is lazy or whatever. And I'm not faulting our parents for that because that's the way they were raised in the culture and the dynamic that they were brought up in. So that's all they knew. But that message that being still is there's something wrong with you or that you're being lazy, I'm choosing to reparent myself around that idea. And that is that resting is doing something. And being calm and grounded and meditating and putting my feet in the grass and slowing down is doing something. I'm purposefully and intentionally creating that space to slow down and to heal. And so think about what you might need. Try one of these. These are just general self-regulation practices. This is not a treatment plan or a diagnosis. And just know that for trauma this significant, having a trauma-informed therapist, particularly one that understands betrayal trauma, and a somatic practitioner really matters. So here's what I hope you take away from today. Your body didn't betray you by going into survival mode. It's adapting to protect you. Nothing is broken in you. And remember that healing isn't about forcing yourself to feel safe or thinking hard enough to get there. It's about slowing down, gently giving your body real experiences to feel safety again and again until your body starts to believe it and feel comfortable there. And this takes time, and it often takes support, and you're allowed to need both. So I'd love it if you wanted to come connect with me at one of the in-person events. Check the show notes to find out more about that. I think you can make a big shift in your healing in a short amount of time in an intensive or retreat environment. So I'll meet you back here next week. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with others that need to hear it. Make a comment on my podcast, leave a review, send me an email if there's something that you want to hear me talk about. And until next week, be gentle with yourself, slow down. You're doing the work, and that's what matters. Thank you for being here with me inside Rooted and Rising Healing. Remember, healing isn't a destination. It's a returning to your truth, to your voice, to the woman you were always meant to be. You have the power to rise at your own pace, in your own way. And when it feels hard, just come back to your breath and remind yourself, still I rise. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love if you shared it with another sister on the journey. And until next time, stay rooted, stay rising. You've got this.